you want to do nature journaling. You've been looking at all these things online and you're thinking like, oh man, that would be really cool. I wish I could do that, but I can't do that. And so I'm not going to do that. But wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice? Well, yeah, here's the deal. It would be nice. So first, what I want to do is I want to reinforce that idea of nature journaling is mind-blowing amazing. The idea of nature journaling is it's not about I'm going to have a book and it's filled with pretty pictures. Nature journaling is a strategy that we use to help us look more deeply into the world, to see things that have been around us our entire life, but we've never noticed. And also to be able to memorize, to remember these details. Our human memories and human attention, they're not very, very good. And how often have we had the sort of an experience that is just, it's powerful and moving. You're thinking like, this is going to be with me. I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life. It turns out we're lucky if we get through the next 15 minutes, right? Because our brain gets distracted by the next bright, shiny object. And it's like, oh, focus on this. Now focus on this. And our brains can't handle too much information juggling at the same time. So what the default is select all, delete. It's the easiest thing for your brain to do. And that's the strategy that it's going to use most of the time. So there are all these incredible experiences. One of my favorite sort of examples of this is, I don't know how many times I've been out with people and we're out kind of looking at a sunset and somebody says like, this is the most beautiful sunset I've ever seen in my life. This is just incredible. No, it's not. It's just the most beautiful sunset that you can remember right now. You've forgotten all the rest of those incredible experiences. So the secret is, if you want to be able to remember things more vividly, if you have to pay attention to them more in the moment. It turns out the part of your brain that is hooked up with memory, it's the same part of your brain that pays attention to things. So as you pay attention, you're coding things into your brain even better. And journaling is an incredibly powerful way to do that. And so as I go out, I have an experience, or I make an observation, or I've got a question, or something that I'm trying to remember to do. Get it out of here and onto paper, out of here and onto paper. That's really the strategy of what we're doing. And then if you go out into a natural place, you are surrounded by the infinite complexity of the world. It turns out that the world around us is really pretty neat. There's stuff in it that just blows your mind. And the more that you can look at it, and the more that you can look at it with sort of the eyes of a curious naturalist, the better and better and better it's going to get. So what happens is, if you train yourself to notice more about whatever you're seeing, to really put your attention on that, you're downloading that to paper. You're going to see more while you're there. You're going to remember more later on. And you also end up with this document that is going to help you be able to time travel. And you can open up the pages of your journal and you're like, oh yeah, and it takes you it's the Wayback Machine, and it takes you back there, and all these memories are going to come flooding back. And it's interesting, not just the details that you were putting down on the paper, but you'll remember like who you were sitting with and how the sun felt on your back and perhaps what you're eating for lunch. All these other details, they'll come piggyback into that little moment where you're like, I'm paying hyper attention. Your senses are open, right? All these senses get piggybacked in on that experience. Perhaps there's a poppy in front of you that's carrying your observation, but all these other details come sliding in with that. And when you look back on your journal page, you're like, oh, and it just takes you back there. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And also as scientists, we know that because our memories are terrible, we'll remember like, oh yeah, there's that time that I saw the whatever it is. It turns out that a lot of our memories get embellished. If you've ever heard somebody talk about their fishing trip, you may know what I'm talking about. It's not that they're lying, it's that motivated reasoning would really like that fish to be this big. And over time, the more you tell that story, the bigger that fish gets. It's just the way our brains work. So if the scientist in me wants to have some kind of an anchor so that the size of my fish, maybe it changes over time, but this is going to help it not change as radically. And so it's a great kind of, as a naturalist, a sort of an anchor for all of those observations. So that's why we're doing this. And you might be thinking to yourself, that's great, but I can't draw pictures. If I were an artist, I could do this, right? But I'm not an artist. My sister is, right? Somehow the drawing gene, it skipped me. You know, my grandmother, she was an artist. I just, you know, I don't have the drawing gene. It'd be nice to have that gift. I don't have that gift. So, newsflash, it's not a gift. It's work. It's a skill that you develop with practice. So is playing the ukulele. So is learning Spanish. So is all the other things that you might want to be doing. Those are skills. And your brain, visual, gets bigger and denser when you work at things that are a little bit challenging for you. When you push yourself outside of the bubble of what you're normally doing and you work on that, you're learning. And all learning is changing the shape of your brain. You're adding neurons into your brain. And this happens at all ages, So a lot of people, you may know somebody who for their life, they were doing some job, they retired, and then they said to themselves, you know what, I would really, really like to I'd like to do watercolor. And they took up watercolor later in their life. And then they're like, oh my gosh, this person had all this watercolor ability in them, but they didn't really find out until they retired. I wish I were like that. Well, see, what they did is they started doing watercolor, and they got better at watercolor. That's the way it works. You don't need some Malcolm Gladwellian 10,000 hours of kind of digging in there and working on this. It gets better very, very quickly. So if you start doing it, my guarantee to you is it's going to get better and better and better. And the more that you do it, and the more you kind of push your envelope of like, I'm going to try it, I'm going to do it, all right, the faster it is going to get better. In about a year, you can go from, I cannot draw a straight line. I only draw stick figures. Yes, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you, stick figure drawing. Give it 1 year of drawing dangerously. It will happen. It will happen to you. And if you are already a drawer and you start going into it more, you start doing it more regular. So being consistent with it, that's the signal that your brain loves to be able to make new neurons. So it's if you want to learn, if you want your brain to grow, the signal is repetition with effort. So if you've been doing this for a while and you start, I'm going to just be more consistent, all right? I'm going to show up for my journal. Your journal will show up for you, all right? It's going to happen. And you will see that the things you're doing, like, wow, this is like, I'm getting my Mark Simmons on. You're like getting something like, I didn't know I could do that. And now you're doing that. You know, it will get better. But the thing, it doesn't come from wishing and hoping. It comes from pencil miles, right? So you and your pencil, just get out there, start burning up that lead, and put aside the first journal, put aside the second journal, put aside the third journal. And then what's going to happen is you're going to look back through these and go like, oh, wow, this really, really does change, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a few of I'm going to go in my Wayback Machine, and I'm going to show you some things in my journal. So let's take a look at this. And I have picked out some of the John Muir Law's journals 10 years apart. And what you're going to see is like, it gets better. So for everybody, it gets better. And also with this, I have not been throughout my entire life consistent with my nature journaling. Now I'm getting crazy into it. I realize like, this is the tool for me. Right? So I'm doing a lot more journaling and I'm getting better in a short period of time. Right? And what you'll see is in my journal, there'll be times where there's kind of stasis and jumps. And maybe it's a little bit harder to see when I give you this in 10-year increments, but you're going to see it gets better, all right? And so what you're going to look at when I open up these journals is not that it's going to take you this many years to go from that stage to that stage, because something that you're not seeing in these journals is there are periods in there where I was not consistent, where I was kind of getting into it, and then life got in the way. I stopped. And so let's take a look here, and I will show you what this looks like. Oh yeah, I have to turn on this camera. All right, here we go. All right, this is my best drawing of that polar bear in the snow. Isn't that good? Like that? All right, so let's first just go back to a drawing of a tree in 1980. 1980. So here we are. This is me in 1980. Right? Look at that. 1980. There it is. There it is. All right. You know, you look, and is that just like, you know, here was going through a graveyard trying to figure out how to draw skulls in a graveyard. My dad was really into Samuel Johnson, so I took some notes on Samuel Johnson's grave. This is a drawing that I did of Abraham Lincoln's statue, all right, on a trip with my pa. So, and this is a reminder to me not to be late. Right? So you see there's a lot of blank pages here. I wasn't being particularly consistent. And this is on a trip to London. You can see some kind of London things here. I was doing kind of landscape drawings, and what you're doing is I've got pen going on, and I've got a few little labels in there, and that was about the level on which I was using my journals. This is 1980. Right? Let's jump forward 10 years and see what happened. I got hooked on nature, right? Let's see, 1990, right? 10 years later, you can see nature journaling has really kicked in here. This is really different stuff. So I'm using colored pencil here. I've got ink drawings, which I am then a few written notes, and I'm using watercolor pencils and colored pencils on top of that. All right. You can see I'm also starting to kind of record my bird sounds, and that's really fun. This is I'd say is real nature journaling. And what's neat about any one of these pages is I can look at it and I know just who I was with. I know right where I was, and that is really, really fun. This is so there's a 1990 Western Tanager by me. Now, let's go 10 years later, 1990. Let's go to the year 2000. Open up the year 2000. The pen is gone. It is now watercolor, and it is graphite pencil. So the tools that I'm using are changing. You're seeing that I'm using notes in a little bit more of a dynamic way. I've got, you know, the notes making comments, not just labels, but more interesting things like no flowers yet, plantain and yarrow and other herbs leafing out. So things that, you know, that's effective. That is effective use of writing in there. Mating pupfish. How cute. All right, let's go 10 years forward in that. So this is a watercolor graphite pencil. You notice I've gotten better at drawing. So we're now coming into the time where there's a lot more, there's a lot more sort of nuance and sophistication in the drawings. And you notice what's going on here on the pages. I'm now kind of into the zone of I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. So here's some kind of fun
it reminds me of. So these pitcher plants here remind me of mustached dinosaurs, right? This is if Chihuly designed plants, these little things. If you're familiar with the sculptor Chihuly, and I don't know how to spell it, so that was my best guess out there. But here's a zoom in, here's a detail, here's zooming out on things, and as I kind of flip around on the pages, you see I'm asking questions, right? Writing those in. This is a lot more of just the brain dump on paper, and it's really fun to do, right? Here's a bunch of birds, kind of quickly drawn. I'm now getting more kind of comfort with showing planes, the sophistication of what's happening with these drawings, even in fast sketches, it's improving. We're now going to jump 10 years past that. This is 2020, all right? And this is, hold on, I've got too many books on my table in front of me. So this is my current journal. I'm using toned paper. I'm having a lot of fun with, there's now icons included, enlargements, questions, maps. The density of stuff on the page is increasing. Here's a little Fionograph, sort of showing these with these wake robin plants, these trillium, how many were different colors and color varieties. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. Here is, just in terms of layout. If you look at the drawings themselves, the drawings are more nuanced, more sophisticated. I'm able to get shapes down faster, and that's fun, right? It's also kind of fun as you look through this journal. You can see that even in the time of COVID, I can still find interesting things going on. This is when the orange turned moldy, and I geeked out on it. So what's happened here is I don't need to be traveling somewhere for journaling to be relevant. I can be sitting at home and discovering all sorts of neat things. This is the lost cockatiel that came to our yard. This is when the red onions started to sprout, right? When you are in lockdown, right, you're going to wonder where you find it. So that is kind of a quick walkthrough, a little bit of kind of what's been going on with me. And as you look through like this page here, there's a lot going on here. I'm looking at these dangling honeysuckle vines off of a tree. I'm trying to figure out, how did you guys get there? And then over here is my guess about how that might have happened. You see, I'm also doing things like adding in, when I make observations that are kind of cool, I've got little googly eyes in here watching it. That's a little trick that I learned from watching Akshay's journals, right? So I'm at this point in my development a real scavenger. I'm looking at other people's journals, and if I see something like, oh, that's a really good idea, I'm going to adopt that. I am taking good ideas wherever I can find them and intentionally incorporating those into my strategy. So once I kind of adopted this strategy of the nature journal scavenger, what I can do on my page and my development just goes on light speed. And that is just, so that's a kind of a quick tour of, yes, it gets better. And that was over a lot of years. But what we're finding is that the most important thing is that when you're putting in your pencil miles consistently, that's when the magic happens. So you may have ever once in a while taken an art class and you noticed you got better during that class, and then you took all those art supplies, and where'd they go? They went in the closet over there in a box labeled art supplies, right? So if that happens, your development stops right there. The secret is you want to get your stuff
out and have it accessible. And if you know that your brain changes by the work that you do, it actually makes sense then to put in this work. But if you believe that, like, I'm not a drawer, and you actually believe that, then it doesn't make it, then yeah, it makes sense just to look at other people's drawings. So I have to tell you, the data is really strong behind this idea of the growth mindset. Your brain changes based on the work that you do. And the more you do that, the faster it's going to change. So if you do it, it will come. It will come. Right? Here's my guarantee to everybody watching this. Right? Even if you're seeing this years later on YouTube, this guarantee is, I'm still going to stand behind this. Right? So anybody who's watching this, if you throw yourself into it this year and you start just drawing like a demon, right? Burning up those sketchbook pages, it absolutely is going to get significantly better. By the end of the year, you're going to be like, oh, wow, I really like this. I can look at that. It looks like this. This worked for me, right? Now, if you put in the work and it doesn't happen, you say to yourself, you know, that laws guy, he was wrong, right? I've been really working at this and look at all these journal pages and it didn't happen, right? I will still be easy to find. Look me up. You can go to johnmuirlaws.com. I will probably still have a journal, a web page then. My contact information is in there. Call me up and say, hey, I took the challenge. It didn't work. And here's what I'm going to do. I will then give you free tutoring. You will become my pet project until we can figure out what's going on and get you going. Because you will be a neurological anomaly that utterly fascinates me. Right? And I'm going to want to find out what has happened in your brain, why this didn't happen, right? But I also know I'm not going to have to pay out on this guarantee, because if you do it, your brain will change. It's going to work. I guarantee it. And again, if it doesn't, free tutoring from me. Deal? All right, let's go to work. So the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get some sort of a support system. So a support system is so powerful. So the data on the data on people say staying with a diet or an exercise program is very, very interesting. If you go on a diet or you try to quit smoking, and you're doing it by yourself, it's not going to end up very well for you. What is going to happen is for the first couple of days, it'll be okay. And then it'll be more convenient to not do it. And then you're back exactly where you were before. So one of the big reasons why Alcoholics Anonymous is a successful program is that there's a buddy system built into it. There's some personal accountability. If you're not showing up, somebody knows, and somebody's going to be like, hey, how's that going? Right? So with journaling, it's going to work the same way. If you can find people in your community who you can do journaling with, you're going to be much more successful at keeping consistent. So think around in your COVID environment. I'm going to show you a couple of my key teammates here. So I'm in the room with my two daughters. This is Carolyn over here. Carolyn, say hi.
Hi.
Right. This is Amelia over here.
Hi.
Right. That's Carolyn and Amelia, the Adventure Girls. And we have our journaling kits. We'll go out exploring. We can ride around on our bicycles. We can bring our journals. We can go places. And doing it with other people, people that you love, is so much more fun. It's so much more fun. And also, you have a chance to kind of look over somebody else's shoulder and say, oh, wow, I like how you're doing that. What's going on? And you can start to steal ideas from each other. And one person's strategy then kind of, if you've looked at, say, the nature journals of Akshay and Gargi on the Nature Journal Club, they're bouncing off of each other all the time. And so they are doing this, right? One person gets an idea, and then the next gets an idea, and the next gets an idea. And you can see them building their skills together. It's really, really cool because they're on the buddy system. So if you can find a partner that you can do this with, it's going to be more fun, and it's going to be easier to keep with it. Now, if you are isolated from other people, like many people are right now, One way that people are finding connection is the Nature Journal Club. And what this is a Facebook group. A Facebook group we put together for people who are doing nature journaling. And it's a place where we can come together, share our journals, get some reinforcement. Be like, oh, I haven't seen you for a while. It's so good to see what you're doing again. Oh, this is really fun. And they'll kind of comment and kind of reflect back to you like ideas that they're going to kind of take and play with. And it is really encouraging, positive stuff. You're not going to find any political diatribes there. You are not going to find people showing you the coffee that they are about to drink. And so I just want to take you over there for a moment. If you're not on this, check this out. And you're going to see, where is it? Maybe I can't go over to journal pages. I thought I could. I may not be as tech savvy as I thought I was. I thought I'd have this.
Do you want me to see if I can get?
Wait a minute. I think I've got it. I've got it. Here we go. Oh, no, that is not what I wanted to show you. Stop that share. We'll try this one more time. And, oh, here we are. Look at this. So this, I'm going to go just to the top of the page. This is the Nature Journal Club. It is a clean, well-lighted place for nature, for creativity, for inspiration. All right, this is an announcement of a video made by Marley Pfeiffer that will be airing tonight. So you can tune in like, oh, I gotta check that out. Yes, you do. This guy's videos are awesome. Wonderful nature journaling teacher. And here are journal pages from all of these wonderful things. Look at this person just kind of going crazy with the color yellow. Oh man, see how that hasp of color just holds all these things together? That's color harmony. There's yellow and that color of green because they have got a limited palette there. These pages really hold together as a unit. So you see how you can look at other people's stuff and go like, oh, I could do that. I like that. I want to do something like that. It turns out that copying other people's ideas does not make you less creative. When you copy other people's ideas, what happens is that you get other strategies and ideas of how you can make this stuff work. Oh man, right? That's fun. And you're like, look at this layout, right? Like, oh, that's cool. I wouldn't have thought of doing it that way. This person did, and it really works. Like, I love these little guys, you know, sort of framed by these ravens kind of coming in here. Right? Little label down here, we're writing around the edge of this. Isn't that fun? All right? Ah, oh, and look at that. Sort of their personal thoughts and observations. This experience is now embedded in somebody's brain. Isn't that fun? And so you can look at this and kind of go like, oh, I like what you did with that, right? I want to check out that idea. Or you go to another person, so you're like, oh, you're drawing the bird, you're blocking in the shadow, right? Look at that. Oh, brilliant. Brilliant way to capture light and dark. So you can go to this page and harvest it for ideas. And this is not just for the advanced artists in the community. Everybody can kind of come in here and share their ideas, their inspirations, and it is really, really, really fun. So the first time you post on it, it's going to be scary. Oh, look at that awesome punch in the shadow. Doesn't that give great? So you look at something like this, you go like, okay, you really hit the contrast and it works. A lot of my watercolors end up too anemic, right? But on this one, bam, that's great. So this is how I regularly use this this Nature Journal Club page. Is you can go in here and you'll come up with a whole bunch of ideas that will get you to journal in a slightly different way, right? This can be your community here. It's an open group, right? Or actually, so you join the group. We welcome you as long as you are not going to be posting advertisements for sunglasses and stuff like that. And Look at that. Oh, it's cool. Is that German? I think so. All right, so people are here all over the world. Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? All right, so this is just, it's an awesome little community. It's a great way to, find inspiration and connection with other people. If you start to kind of comment and sort of have conversations with people in here, you'll find that this group of people very, very welcoming, very, very friendly. They're going to encourage you, and that will just help you keep going. All right. So the buddy system, so much more fun, and we just want to encourage people to do that. Now you're all inspired. You've got some strategies. Let's set up your kit. Because here's the thing. That whole operant conditioning thing, negative and positive reinforcement, it affects our behavior. If it is a hassle, you're like, I want to go nature journaling. All right, I'm going to go nature journaling. Okay, now let's see. Somewhere over here, where did I put those pencils? All right, I've got the pencils. I've got a palette. No, that's the palette here. And I've got... oh yeah, over in the closet, I've got my journal over here, so I'm gonna go get my journal. Where did I put that? No, I had that out. I had that out, right? You know, and so if it's a hassle to, you run around the house trying to get your gear together each time, you're gonna say, why bother? Forget about it. The other thing is, if you put together, so what you have to do is you have to have a kit of stuff that is just hangs on a hook, you grab it and you're ready to go. You know where that is. It's got all the things that you need in it. If you like drawing in other places, get 2 sets. One for your desk, like where you like to do stuff at home, and one that just lives in your kit, so that, here you go. Let's put that inside. So you have that sort of sitting on the side. Oh, excuse me. I'm trying to do 2 things at once. I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to talk to you. You want to have this kit, all your stuff together, so it's just grab and go. If you like to do drawing also at home, have a set for home and have another set that you can just grab and go. So whenever you head out the door, you know what's in there. You're not going to get out there and go like, I took the binoculars out and I put them in a different place. I really wish I had them, right? So that's gonna really help you do this. You want to keep this kit lightweight also. If you throw in everything in the kitchen sink, it's going to be this really heavy thing, and you're going to say to yourself, you know what? I don't want to do this today because it's just going to be a hassle. Do either of you want to model your kit?
No.
Yep. All right. So Mila's going to show you how big her kit is. All right. You want to hold it up? All right. So she's packing it right now. So she just wants to show you it's not going to be too bulky. So she's got a kit that she likes. You know where it is. You like the stuff in it. And over time, there's going to be stuff in your kit that you're like, I don't really use this anymore. Just take it out. I recommend for your kit getting a bag with a strap that goes over your shoulder rather than stuff that you put in a backpack. That way you can still have your backpack on. Or now I'm going to sketch. I'm going to take this and put it down. If you have everything in the backpack and you see a really cool bird, by the time you get your gear out, the bird's gone. All right? You want to model this for us? All right. So yeah, put that on. Oh, actually, we're gonna have a little nature journal bag fashion show for you folks in just a moment. So one of the key things about this is your journal, and I just want to. This is getting a journal that you like makes a big difference. So here are some things to consider in. Where did I put that other pile of? There it is. I've got piles. I put a pile on top of my pile. So put that on, and we'll show people how it fits. All right. So mistake number 1, the mini. Now this is cool because it fits in my pocket. It's really flexible, right? Convenient to have with me, but it is so small that I can only get half of the thought on one page before I have to then turn the page and go to the next one, right? Something that's useful is being able to have several ideas and sketches all bouncing around together on the same page. If I can do that, then the way I think will actually be different. Right? Can you imagine if you were writing the great novel and you wrote on the first page, it was the best of, and you turn the times, it was the worst of, okay, turn the page, right? So if that turning the page would just interrupt the flow of your thinking. And that same thing happens when you're nature journaling. It's a thinking process. And so if you have to turn the pages too often, right, it's going to mess with your thinking. Also, this one has a really floppy cover. I don't like floppy covers. The reason is when I'm out there, the journal can also serve as a clipboard, and it makes it easier to write on. So get one with a hard binding. You will also find some with a spiral binding. I don't recommend those either. The reason I don't like the spiral binding is that the pages in them will just rub on each other a little bit like this. And that smears anything you've written with graphite pencil. So if you have something with a sewn-in binding, then that is not going to be nearly as smudgy, right? Looks like we are ready for the Nature Journal Bag fashion show. You ready? So put it over your shoulder, and then stand right over here. Put it over your shoulder. You ready? All right. Are you going to be showing us too, Mia? All right. So right here. All right. Up. There we go. And then come on over here. We're going to hop out here. Look. So it goes over your shoulder. Right. There you go. You've got your gear. You're ready to go exploring. You've got everything in there that you need. Right. So if you saw a bird right now, right, and you wanted to draw it, how fast can you get out a pencil and your journal? Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Journal, pencil, right? And we've got journals out. We've got a pencil and a journal right over here. And we're going to have another pencil in just a moment. All right. Oh, this is kind of cool. Can I show them your kit? So Carolyn's pencils are all organized together. So there's not too much stuff here, right? There's not too much stuff. Starting with colored pencils is a great way to go. So not too many colored pencils, right? But enough so that you've got some variation in things, and you've just got, what you want to do is just sort of have a few of your favorite things out there. And then when you are drawing, it's easy to get it. It's easy to reach back into there. Do you want to show us something, Mia? All right, that's it. All right, so Amelia's got her kit there. So having a little system, right? And that can be, it doesn't have to be in a little container like this. So I mean, but I mean, just like having a few pencils tied together by a little rubber band, right? And you're good to go. So thank you, I appreciate that. Give you that back. Thank you for sharing your gear with us. All right. I like journals that are about this size, sort of the 8.5 by 11 size. These can be a little bit too big for some people. So if you feel like this would be a size that would be like, oh, maybe I won't bring it today, then go for a smaller size. But go for as large as you possibly can bring that you would regularly bring with you, right? That's your point. That's going to be different for each of us. But again, the minis blocks your thinking. Too big, it's awkward out there in the field. How big will you regularly, realistically bring with you? That's the point for your journals. The one tool that I find very useful in my nature journaling kit, I just want to do a quick little demo with this, is something called the non-photo blue pencil, right? And what it is specifically the non-photo blue pencil that is the Prismacolor Kohl Erase non-photo blue pencil. You'll know it if you have it, if there's an eraser that has a little blue stripe around the end, right? This pencil is very, very useful for drawing. I'm going to do a little demo for you and show you why I like these. It turns out that when I start drawing, it is difficult for me to both keep track of the big picture, the overall shape of something, and the details at the same time. The big problem that most people make is when they start drawing, they dive in and they start drawing all the details. And you don't want to do that. It's better to start by blocking in the basic shape. Once you've got the basic shape mapped out, then you can put your details on top of it. It's kind of like when you used to be writing your term paper. You'd first write an outline. You know where you are going. And then you can work on crafting the individual paragraphs. But you first have to know where you're going, right? So this pencil will do that for you. And let me show you how. The reason I like this one is because it makes this incredibly faint, ghosty mark. If you try to make a dark mark with this, it will not show up. But actually on really smooth paper, it doesn't show up at all. So this doesn't work on really smooth paper.
All right, but just let's go over here. And I'm going to do a little demo. And I'm going to show you how ghosty it is and why I like it. So if you're new to drawing, again, I recommend you can use whatever kind of pencils you want, but I really do like the idea of starting with this thing. You also can start by lightly drawing something, but I find also when you're just starting to learn to draw, sometimes drawing lightly is hard to do. So this is automatic light drawing, right? And, oh, actually, let's leave that there for now, okay? Thank you, honey. Here we go. Right. Let's say I found some cool object, all right? And I want to be able to draw this. What I'll often do is I will start lightly drawing with this pencil. And my pencil motions are fast and scribbly. On the camera, it's so light that this hardly shows up at all, right? And so that is, but when I'm looking at this, I can actually see these lines that I'm making. I'm now going to put, so what I could do now is I could pick up another pencil and I start drawing on top of this. And wow, underneath all these lines that I've drawn is going to be this basic framework that I've put out. Let me just show you, I'm going to pick up the 2020 journal here. I know there's some white paper, some graphite drawings in here. So on this drawing, these drawings here, I didn't use a non-photo blue pencil, right? I used a really light touch with my graphite pencil. So if you look really carefully, you can see that there are a few little kind of starter lines underneath some of these birds. All right. The problem with doing that is that those starter lines sometimes show through in my final drawing. I'll find another place where I've got that. Yeah. So you see how a lot of those light lines, they really show through. Now let me show you a non-photo blue pencil sketch. Oh, please have one in here. And I picked up a journal that has no non-photo blue pencil sketches in. Ah, here we go. There we go. Check this out. See this drawing right here? It looks like I just sort of came along. There's no background lines, but there actually is non-photo blue pencil that in the background behind this that originally blocked in the whole shape for me. So I'll just, with this pencil, which is a darker blue pencil, I'll just sort of show you the sort of, kind of how it looks. Very often what I'm doing is I'm kind of drawing lightly And it's sort of a gesture sketch feeling sort of a thing, where there's like, okay, there's a part back here that's big, there's a part over here that's about this wide, there's a part like that, and that needs to be sort of, see, I'm making a bunch of, oh, here we go, making a bunch of sort of light lines. And as I kind of start to as the drawing goes along, those will get increasingly refined. But it starts off just being really light, loose, scribbly. And the more that the drawing goes on, the more those lines get refined. Then once I like what I've got there with my non-photo blue pencil, again, this shows up much more than the regular non-photo blue pencil. I can then come over that, and now what I'm doing is, you notice I will start to draw much more slowly. I'll be drawing in a way that is slow, careful, deliberate. Let's see, could I borrow your pencil for just a minute?
This is a pen.
Oh, do you see a pencil handy? So I'm going to just start to draw over this in a way that is, thanks, Amelia. Here we go. So you see how now this energy of this line is really different, and it's going to lighten my line as it comes over here. I'm going to kind of pop it in a little bit as I come around here. Right. I'm now drawing with a slow, careful, deliberate mark. That's a really different energy than I started, right? And so my drawing then gets broken into two different phases. This early phase where I'm just like, blocking in, saying like, you know, this part is this big, this part is this big, this part is sticking up. Oh no, I made that too short. Got to make it longer. All right. Oh no, actually it is not quite that long. All right, there we go. Right. So it's light, loose, kind of getting big ideas. Thank you very much for letting me use your pencil. All right. That's why I just love initially blocking things in with that non-photo blue pencil. Then what will happen is partway through the drawing, I will put that non-photo blue pencil aside and just start my regular drawing. And, whoops, I'm now pushing all the wrong buttons. Melinda, could you spotlight me again? Thank you. All right, so you're going to get a kit. It doesn't have to have everything in it. I do recommend starting with just a small set of colored pencils. And watercolor, don't feel that you need to start with that. It's fun later on, but there's a little bit more of a learning curve. A small set of colored pencils are much more intuitive. And so I do recommend that's just a more accessible way to kind of get a handle on it. So now let's take a look a little bit at what, as you're journaling, what to put down on your page. What I do, my general approach is I go out and I'm scanning the environment around me for anything that I think is beautiful or interesting, right? So if I go like, oh, wow, I like that, that goes in my journal. Especially if I get the sense though that like, oh, that's weird, what's up with that? If I find a little mystery, that's gotta go in my journal, right? And the general routine that I have is something that I call, I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. So I notice is, I just am gonna put my observations down. So I'm sitting there in front of a plant, I'm looking at it, I can say, what do I notice? Say it out loud. If you're describing it to somebody, say, I see this and this and this and this and this. Oh, put those same details down in your journal. Whatever you notice, put it in the journal. If you get stuck, right, just start saying out loud other details that you see in the plant that's in front of you that are not yet on your page. And then put those on your page. Right.
I notice is harnessing my curiosity. Anytime I come up with questions like, oh, what's this for? Why is it like that? How did that happen? Like, when will this hatch? Whatever it is, get your questions down there too. This is going to start to train us to really think like a naturalist. We want to be intentionally curious. If you work at it, you will get better and better at asking more and more and more questions. And you're going to discover, so in other workshops, we can talk a little bit more about this, but it turns out that intentionally harvesting and harnessing your curiosity makes you a better journaler. You get curious about something, your brain starts paying more attention. You get curious about something, your ability to stick with something a little bit longer goes way, way, way up. So what curiosity does to your brain is really, really good for us as nature journalers. The last little bit is it reminds me of. So if you're looking at a pitcher plant and it reminds you of the sculptures of Chihuly, great, put that down. If it reminds you of a blimp, great, put that down. Whatever it is, put that down. The more of those connections you make, you're training your brain to be a connector. So you're training your brain to be an observer, you're training your brain to be curious, you're training your brain to make connections. I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. Incredibly powerful triad. So that's what's going on in here. And then the way that goes down on the paper is with 3 languages. And those are words and pictures and numbers. One of those is probably going to be easier for you. So if words are your comfort zone, start with words, and it can be mostly words. But start to add in a few maps and diagrams and sketches and drawings. Right? If drawings are your comfort zone, start there. Right? It can be mostly drawings and maps and diagrams and zoom ins and those sorts of things. But also look for ways that you can kind of go like, oh, plantain is just starting in leaf right now, and no other flowers are out. Start to use words on your page as well. Right? The last one is numbers. Get quantitative. Bring a little ruler with you. Start measuring things. Start counting things. When you do that, it's going to train you to be really specific in a way that otherwise you might not get. I don't know how many times I've been out there drawing a flower and then realized, oh, it's got 6 petals, right? I wish I had noticed that when I wasn't 3/4 of the way through my drawing. So counting, measuring, timing things, finding those numbers. So I've got, I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of, I've got words, pictures, and numbers. Those are the 2 triads, right? And on the journal page, that's where those come together. So you can think of your journal as words, pictures, numbers. I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of, linked together. That's the process that we're doing. If you do that, it's going to just be so much fun. The pictures don't need to be pretty pictures. The words don't need to be poetic, right? But you just want to do those things. By the way, the more that you do it, the better you're going to get at using words. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at using pictures. But don't make it your goal at the start. I got to make a pretty picture, right? Just make a picture. Make lots of pictures. If you make lots of pictures, the pretty pictures will automatically come because you are making lots of pictures, right? The last little piece of this is, at some point, now you're like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get going. And so you've put it on your calendar. You're starting to be regular with it. You've got a journaling buddy. But what's going to happen at some point is the amount that you're nature journaling is just going to go way down. And it's going to start staying down. And the reason is, we human beings, all of us, are creatures of habit. If you're in the habit of journaling a lot, then what happens is you journal a lot until you get out of that habit. If you're in the habit of journaling a little, you'll journal a little, all right? And you will most likely journal the same amount that you did yesterday. So what you want to do is just start trying to figure out ways of how can I start to increase the amount that I do. And if your amount of journaling goes way down, just notice that, like, oh, look, I got out of the habit. Don't beat yourself up. Do not beat yourself up. It happens to me too, right? And looking at my journals, they'll be like journal, page, and then a big gap. right? And then something happens like, oh, I just want to kind of get back into this routine. What you have to do to start again is to start again. That's all you have to do, is just pick it up and just start again. Don't criticize yourself. Don't go like, oh, I'm a bad nature journaler. Sometimes you get this feeling of like, I just feel behind now. Like I've got like this backlog of all the stuff I should have been doing. No, just start right where you are. You don't have, there's no guilt of stuff that you should have been doing, right? Just, you're there now with your journal and look, there's a spider and let's get that on the page. Okay, cool, great. And give yourself permission to start again. And if you get out of the routine, then just start again. And then just start again. And the more that you can, what will then happen is when you are starting again, you're working against the force of your habit. So for the first week when you're starting again, it will feel like you really have to force it, right? Because you're fighting against the inertia of your habit. But if you do it regularly for a week, then what's going to happen is you're going to be feeling like, oh, I don't want to break the chain, right? Same with exercising. If you get out and go for your walk every day, right? You miss a day, you're like, I'm jonesing for that. I want to go for my walk, right? You're looking for an opportunity to go for your walk. But if you get off of that for a week, then it's like, I don't think maybe what's on Netflix, right? So instead, just sort of kind of go like, I'm going to help myself build the habit, know that it's going to take a little bit of work to kind of get over that hump. And then once you're over that hump, it's now your habit and it's taking care of itself. Right? You absolutely can do this. You can do this. You can do this. And if you do this, it will change your life. It will change your world. You will notice things that you otherwise would have been completely invisible to you. And you'll remember them with this richness and clarity. You'll have this document of your past experiences that you can time travel in whenever you want. And you are going to be building functional skills of how to draw, how to be a visual thinker, and how to be a better naturalist. This is really game-changing stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with your time. A lot of stuff that you can do with your time. I believe that this is really worth it. And if it means prioritizing this, if it means not doing one of those other things, I'm okay with that. This is one of those activities that will change the way you think, change the way you encounter the world, change the way that you pay attention to the world. And that's really important because the currency of our attention is the most precious currency that we have. That's our time, our attention. And if I'm here sitting at this computer and I'm working on a project, and Amelia over here comes in, and she's got something to show me, and I am just too wrapped up in this, and I can't turn and give that attention, right? I really miss an opportunity there. Because attention, the act of attention, is the act of love. The more that we train ourselves to pay attention, the more we are training ourselves to fall in love with this world. And it is beautiful and it is precious and it is worth our investing our time and attention in. It is worth our working to protect as a community. And so I want to invite you to let your journal be a trampoline for your curiosity and wonder, and an invitation for you to step more deeply into the world that has been around you your entire life, just waiting for the gift of your attention. Thank you. I'm in our little meeting here. I'm turning it so that, wait, how do I do this? Oh, there it is. I'm going to set it up so if you would like to be able to allow participants to unmute themselves, I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself. If you want to share something, share a thought, share a journal page, share a kit, share something that you drew, please do. Let's start over here with Cheryl, and Cheryl is going to share. So here is sharing with Cheryl, and we're spotlighting your video. Oh, you are currently muted, so see if you can unmute. Oh, there we go.
This is a Neopritz pencil holder. It has a snap on the back so you could hook it to a belt hook or to your bag. And what's cool about it is that it has 2 zippers. There's another one up here at the top, so you can either zip it down or you can zip it front. Mine usually have both of them at the top because I've got the front pocket loaded as well as the back. But I can hold an awful lot in here and it stands up.
Ooh, that's cool.
Because if I'm sitting out on the ground someplace, that can sit right next to me and everything's right there. I don't have to go digging.
Something that I also like about it is that the inside of it is brightly colored. And so that then when you get up to hike on down the trail, you don't leave it beside the stump.
I have another one that's turquoise and yellow. They both are bright colors.
That's great. And tell us the name of that again.
I put it in the thing Neopritz, N-E-O-R-I-T-Z.
Fantastic.
C-R-I-T-Z.
Thank you. Thank you. That's really cool.
And I got it on Google. I don't know whether it was Amazon or where, but I Googled it.
Thanks.
That's fun. That's cool. So that's really neat. Thank you so much for sharing that. Does anybody else have a thought, a journal page, or something that's in your kit to share, something that helped you? Let's go over to Hope. Okay,
so we rejoined the Audubon Society and we got this lovely bag that's really lightweight and it's got all kinds of zipper pockets and it's perfect. It goes over your shoulder, like you said, like the girls modeled. And the bonus is you also get the Audubon Society magazine, which has great photos of birds and animals to draw. And you're contributing to a good cause. So it's really light. That's what I like about it. And it's got lots of pockets in it. So it was a little gifty for the donation.
Oh, that's fantastic. And also thank you for supporting the Audubon Society. It's really important conservation and education work.
Is it okay if I show a picture?
Please, please do.
A painting. So I've just gotten so much out of this class with noticing things and backgrounds, and I did some pen and watercolor and pencil, and I'm just having so much fun delving into this and being mindful and shutting out the pandemic and all the other stuff. So thank you.
That's cool. That is really cool. I noticed you've got a notice I wonder it reminds me of on your page too.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Such a great practice. Something that's cool here about your background, I love the way the bird is overlapping the background, as is the title. I'm going to steal that idea from you, Hope, and use that. I like the, I've done stuff where the bird overlaps the frame, but not also the title. And sort of thinking of that as another element that I can sort of playfully goof around with. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to see you again. Is your bird with us today? Oh, good, good, good.
No.
Always.
Look, girls, there's Hope's bird.
You want to stay up? Up? Come here. Up, 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 up. Where are
So
you?
just so you know, Hope, that every time the girls watch the show here, they look for you and look for your bird.
Oh, well, someday they'll have to meet her when COVID's over.
When this COVID is over, let's meet. That's
We're
wonderful.
not that far away.
It will happen.
You're being shy.
Now let's go. Ray Monto in London is got a journal page here to share with us. Let's spotlight what he's got going. Hey there, good to see you again.
It's still about practice. Yeah, well, that is true. So yes, when I first started, so much.
Wait a minute.
So this was your journal at the start when you started, you're saying?
Not exactly at the start. It was my fourth. I had another one, but I canceled that book.
Okay.
But now, a few days ago, it changed to this.
Look at that, everybody. Look at this. What you're seeing here is Pencil Miles in action. There's just so much rich and dynamic thinking and exploration going on here. Observation, exploration, and he's also developing a repertoire of ways of recording things, just real visual literacy. Rebanto?
Okay. Don't need that.
So what is the new badminton one?
I don't know. Wasn't that? It wasn't this. It wasn't this. It wasn't this. It was this.
Ah, nice. The lovely reflections. And you got out with some squirrels too. Nice job sort of showing the volume on the body of that squirrel there. You really get the feeling that it's not a flat shape. It's a three-dimensional form because of how you have played with the shadowing on the body. You've got those three sections of the body, the chest area and the front of the torso and the hips. Those three sections. This is great.
The Paddington one? Yesterday one?
What do you mean yesterday? Why should I show so many?
Oh, how about one more? We'd love to see one more. Because you are inspiring to us because we see how much.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, those. It's so.
These are live ones.
These are sketches.
So this is drawn from in the field, live birds.
Yeah, so I was walking along, and I happened to have my journal on my mat, and I was in the middle of it when some Canada geese were going up onto the beach. What do we call it? Off the stream. They were coming onto the land. So I just grabbed my pencil and I ran to them and touched them.
And look at that. So there's that one with the head turned so you're not seeing the beak. And then there's another one where the head is turned so you do. He's getting all these different poses in there. That really, that's exactly what we get with field sketching. All those different angles on the live birds. And also, everybody noticed he was walking along, the bird appeared, immediately he pulled out his journal. He's got his kit with him, and in a way that's possible for him to access. So if you don't have your journal, you can't use your journal. But he had his journal with him. So when you go out into the field and go exploring, go like Ray Bonto, with your gear ready to go, because you never know when the geese are going to appear. And when they do, you are ready for them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that's cool. Does anybody else have either tools, journal pages, or an anecdote to share? Let's go to Vance over here. And let's see if you can unmute yourself. You're currently muted. There we go. Now we can hear you.
Hey.
Oh, look at the caterpillars and the bees.
Look, these are roly-polies.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, that's really fun. That's really fun.
Rolled up in a ball.
Isn't that behavior interesting? I like how you got that little exclamation point instead of thinking like, I'm getting in here.
I was trying to put it in like the green clovers, and they were like rolled up, and I was like, ah!
Great. And so you drew what you saw right then and there. That's great. It's these different poses, getting those different angles, rather than thinking of it as a portrait where you're just going to draw one critter. As it moves, you can too. Do you want to show me? Isn't that cool? Can you see it? Yeah. Oh, that's really neat. Thank you so much for sharing that. So as is being demonstrated here, when the subject, and we also saw that on Ray Banto's page, as the critter moves, just start a new drawing. If it comes back to that old pose, you can go back and continue that drawing, but you'll get a lot more information. This is great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, and roly-polies are my favorite bug.
Insect.
Your favorite bug? They are really fun. Here we've got two different kinds, and we turn over rocks. We have among the roly-polies we have sow bugs and pill bugs, and the sow bugs can't roll up, and the pill bugs do. So see, as you're looking around, see if you can find two different kinds. Some of the shiny ones are better they roll up into the little ball, and the ones that aren't shiny, we're finding, at least in our backyard, are not shiny ones can't roll. It's pretty cool. I'll be really curious to see what it's like around your home.
Yeah, there's a lot of bugs. I found a silverfish once.
Oh, with those cool tails on the back?
Yeah.
Yes. Those are so, how many tails did it have?
It was like kind of like an earwig. It had like this tail.
Long tails. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are really fun. That's great.
Catch it. It was so fast. I was like, zoom.
I know. They're so much faster than earwigs. Yeah, that's a great survival strategy, being able just to go so fast. That's really good. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
I will see you again soon.
You too.
Evea, it is good to see you again. Let's spotlight your video, and
it's good to see you too. I was just including this one because I was inspired by what you said about finding support system. And so a couple weeks ago, I was lucky enough to have a couple friends who wanted to go with me at Chrissy Field, social distanced, of course. I mean, we had our masks on. And that you were right, it makes it a lot easier to do the drawing and stuff when you're out with your friends. And so why I chose this one is because there was a flash of movement and I saw these birds chasing, well, you know, the crow was chasing the heron. And for me, I would have gotten stuck about how to not being able to draw it very fast because it went so fast. And a friend of mine from here, Kit Dunsmore, had been doing these silhouette pieces. And so it helped me figure out how to capture it. And so again, about like having, you know, people and how they can sort of inspire you to learn new tips and stuff like that. And then I was curious about, like, you know, doing more, making it so that my notes could be more legible. And so I was taking some notes off of Mark Simmons. So this wound up being a really good day.
This
Thank you.
is a great day. Mark Simmons was there with you?
Oh, that was a different time. That was just a couple of days earlier. We were doing something else. We went out and I wanted to see which plants were flowering and fruiting, so that way I could sort of get an idea in the future about when to grow them, when to to look for them so that we could do restoration. And then we happened to see these lovely sand wasps. And so I got to learn from Mark all about how to try to capture animal behaviors. So that was this day. And then same day, possibly seeing these possibly San Francisco fork-tailed damselflies. So that was a very special day as well.
That is really exciting. That is really exciting. This is really dynamic and exciting. Just look at the different ways of what, just hold that really still there for a minute. Sometimes if you prop your elbows on the table.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, the journal kind of wiggles a little bit. But what I want people to notice is that, look at the thinking. The thinking. You can actually see her parsing out ideas on the page, making an observation, asking a question. And what she's doing as a scientist, she is coming up with alternate hypotheses, alternate possible explanations for behaviors that she sees. I love possibility number one there. That's so funny. Everybody see that? You can see her sense of humor coming out on the page. So first, you know, it's crows are jerks.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just aggressive.
Sorry about my hands being shaky.
Oh no, this is exciting. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's so much fun. And again, just seeing the way you think on paper, that's really cool. So Carolyn wanted to share something with you guys. Carolyn, do you want to hold it up there? So this is a drawing. She's sort of figuring out different career paths for herself. And so now she's drawn herself in her future career. And so this is how she's been thinking about it. And what do you thinking of doing as your career? She wants to be a farmer. And so she's looking at how to do that. So thank you, Carolyn, for sharing that. Yeah, she's been farming in our backyard. Mm-hmm. Eventually we're going to have greater biodiversity back there, but we're really excited to have little farmer heading out there, and it's really fun. Avea, who you just saw, also does a lot of things like farming, taking care of plants and growing plants then to put in restoration sites that she puts back out into nature. So she'll grow plants and then put them out into nature in places where a lot of things have gotten stepped on, and to help nature come back.
I want to hear everything about your garden, Carolyn. That is really, really exciting.
So when this is over, would you please come on down and join us for dinner?
Absolutely. I would be delighted. And thank you for inviting me. I would be delighted.
All right.
Yes.
So Ashwini.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the first time I've joined your workshop. So yeah, I just tried, this is like the first time I tried nature journaling. This was at Muir Woods. And yeah, I just read your book, and that's when I discovered nature journaling. So before that, I didn't even have any idea that people were nature journaling out there. And then I joined your Facebook group, and yeah, and I just found myself a new hobby thanks to you.
That's wonderful. Maybe hold that up a little bit, and let's take a look at your view of Muir Woods. Oh, I wish I was back among those trees. That's
yeah,
really
I mean,
fun.
thanks to this nature journaling, I was able to like sit in that place for like 10 minutes or something. Otherwise, I would have just, walked away, and I wouldn't have even noticed how beautiful these trees are and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, it's really nice.
Ashwini, it is really a delight to have you with us. So thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to the group, and thank you for sharing your drawing today. That's really nice. I also want to encourage you, if you feel comfortable doing so, please share that on our Nature Journal Club Facebook page.
Okay.
So people would love to see the redwoods.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, friends, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that some strategies or ideas from today's workshop will help you be able to keep your own nature journal. If you get stuck, remember you can just start again anytime you want. And know that at the start, when you're getting going again, there's the inertia of the habits from before. It gets better. It gets better. You gotta